And no wonder there's so much security in our booth right now, because Mark Catanascio to David Stearns, the general manager. Welcome.
How you doing, BA?
The last time we talked, we're into baseball talk and trade talk, and you've been up late every night. Tonight we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to go
be
down
a little bit more relaxed.
Go down memory lane.
Perfect.
Tonight, get to know you a little better.
We're going to go business. We're going to get personal with you.
Bouncing ball by Braun, ranging over Beckham, and a nice play for out number one. So, David, who was your favorite Major League player growing up?
Well, Mark came in here with Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron.
Yeah,
I'm going Kevin Elster.
There you go.
Set your sights a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Got
Very nice. I grew up in New York City. I grew up a Mets fan. And when I was a little kid, I played shortstop. And Kevin Elster was a shortstop of the Mets. And so he very quickly became my favorite player.
Did you wear his number?
I did not wear his number. Numbers were kind of assigned and not necessarily chosen at that point. So I certainly would have chosen the number had it been provided.
It takes a while for you to be able to actually get to a point where you pick your number.
Yeah, I never got to that point.
I never did either. Did you ever meet him?
I've never met him.
Really?
I never met him. I've met a number of the guys from the late 80s, early 90s Mets and mid 90s Mets when I was growing up, but Kevin Elster is not among them.
Jeanette into the gap in right center. That's going to go all the way to the wall. And Scooter on his way to second base with a double. One out double for the Brewers cleanup hitter. And a man on with one away. Well, David, you know, you mentioned Elster. How about the time when you were most starstruck by a Major League Baseball player, when you finally got a chance to get hand-to-hand with him or face-to-face?
Yeah, I think the most starstruck I've ever been was meeting Mike Piazza when I was a kid. I was probably 14, 15 years old. Happened to have a chance to meet him outside of Shea Stadium and was completely speechless. Had absolutely no clue what to say. Just shook his hand. He's obviously a big guy, strong handshake, and he was very polite and a good sport.
What did he say to you?
You know, I think we just, I went up to him as a little kid and hello. I'm, you know, Mr. Piazza, I'm a huge fan, and he was nice enough to stop and chat with me for a few minutes. But growing up in New York at that time, you had a fairly substantial Mets-Yankees rivalry with the Mets on the wrong end of the stick on that one a lot. So that the Mets fans were a passionate few, I'd say, in New York during the mid to late 90s.
Yeah. Visiting with David Stearns, Brewers general manager. And we're going down memory lane here in our big league inspiration night. Rock mentioned that his favorite player was a Met, Jerry Grody.
Yep.
And mine was a Yankee, actually. I grew up in Texas as Carter strikes out. But because the Yankees were on so much on the Saturday game of the week with Vin and Joe, and Don Mattingly was the guy that I gravitated toward. I loved the way he played and the way he carried himself. And I still get a little starstruck when I'm around Donnie Baseball, now managing the Marlins.
He's a good one to pick. I mean, without the injuries, that's about as pure a pure hitter as you're ever going to see.
I even tried to hit like him. I was right-handed, but that didn't go so well.
Now, Dave, when you were a kid, were you a shortstop like Elster? Or?
I played shortstop when I was a little kid, and then by the time I got to high school, my high school varsity coach informed me that I didn't hit well enough to actually play a position. So if I wanted to keep playing, I better get on the mound. And so I transitioned to a pitcher, one of the earliest converts in baseball.
That's a tough thing to hear as a kid, isn't it?
Yeah, that hurts the ego a little bit when you're in ninth grade and your coach tells you that the everyday position player path to the major leagues may not work out.
So you went to Doc Gooden, right?
Well, that's exactly right.
Do you still use some of that phrasing when you're talking to players now and have to make those tough decisions? And when I was 9 years old, or when I was in ninth grade.
Yeah, that goes over real well in the clubhouse when you start a conversation with when I was a freshman in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Or when I played. Yeah, that's always good.
David Stearns, our guest, Brewers general manager, coming through the rigorous months leading up to the trade deadline, the draft, and then leading up to the trade deadline. Still opportunity for some activity coming up. And maybe you can just explain, talking a little business here, but explain what this month is like in the month of August till the end of the month.
This is a month where we generally get to take a little bit of a step back and evaluate the organization as a whole. In July, you're consumed with the deadline and the trade deadline. And now we take a look. I spend a little bit more time on player development. I'll get out and see all of our affiliates, as will some other guys in our office. And we really begin our offseason planning at this stage of the season.
Ground ball to third, Perez. And it's a low throw dug out by Freeman. What a play over there. And that will retire the side. Well, David, thanks for letting us have a little fun with you. And thanks for those memories, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, B.A.
David Stearns.
Good job, man.
Brewers general manager. There'll be a lot more from him in the coming weeks as we get to the end of August. And we start looking ahead at September.